Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight we wander into the smoky heart of Victorian London, a city alive with clattering hooves, clashing class lines, and a fog that never quite clears. Picture the cobbled streets underfoot, your boots tapping in rhythm with horse-drawn carriages rattling by. The scent of coal smoke clings to your coat. Street hawkers shout their wares. Market stalls overflow with everything from biscuits to brine. This isn't the London of picture books. It's loud, tight, crowded, full of life, and just as full of grime. You're elbow to elbow with chimney sweeps, boot blacks, and proper ladies bustling to cross the road without scandal. And no, your shoes won't stay clean, but they will carry you through one of the most unforgettable chapters in urban history. So before we melt into the mist of gas lamps and soot, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if stories of gritty beauty and tangled streets speak to your soul. Drop a comment. Where are you tuning in from? And what time would the London fog roll in for you? Now dim the lights. Let your fan hum like distant wheels on cobblestone. Let's begin. The journey begins as you step onto London's bustling Victoria Embankment, a testament to the city's architectural innovations in controlling the chaotic flow of the River Thames. Its newly constructed sewers carry away the detritus of a sprawling urban population, representing technological progress amid lingering miasmas of yesterday. As you wander, you're drawn into the currents of activity. Ladies with parasols unfurl their feathered weapons against the sun, and gentlemen in top hats exude the seriousness of business ventures undertaken. Picture the lush green parks that provide brief respite from the clamour, where you can pause along the serpentine pathways to observe the interplay of sunlight and shadows. But pause for too long, and you'll find yourself jostled by London's denizens, eager to keep pace with the empire's relentless pulse. The streets themselves are a tapestry of unexpected contrasts. Grand facades conceal narrow alleys, inviting those brave enough to explore beyond the marble-arched boulevards and into the warren of lanes where stories of ambition and despair intermingle. Daring street urchins dart through the tangle, resourceful in their pursuit of opportunity or mischief, sometimes indistinguishable from each other. Every corner you turn offers a new spectacle, from towering smokestacks belching industrial resolve to quieter enclaves alive with the sense of diverse culinary experiments. The very air crackles with the spirit of invention, though tinged with the soot of progress, a dichotomy that defines the era. Look closely and you'll catch glimpses of the famed gaslit lamps that cast an ethereal glow over the cobblestones come nightfall. Their flickering persistence is your steadfast guide through the veil of Victorian twilight. And yet, beneath the surface vibrancy lies a brooding complexity. Historians still argue whether the city's transformation during this era was a feat of engineering brilliance or an unrelenting machine grinding ever onward. The omnipresent tension between change and tradition whispers through each alley and byway, inviting reflection amidst the clamour. Navigating this urban jungle requires a keen eye and a vigilant ear. You skirt around bustling stages and parapets, mindful of the subtle hierarchy at play. Not all in this city are treated equal after all. Remember, appearances deceive. A gentleman's polished cane might just as easily unmask a ruffian lurking beneath veneer and frock coat. As you continue, you catch the strains of Beethoven wafting down from an open window, a serendipitous reminder of culture's steadfastness even amidst societal upheaval. Quirkier moments arrest your journey, such as the unexpected clatter of a penny farthing, precariously ridden by a daring sort likely ignoring the treacherous cobblestones below. Even as you ponder the cyclist's boldness, nostalgia for a life lived upon two delicate spokes becomes curious inspiration. Occasionally a fog will tumble across the cityscape without warning, crawling into every crevice, its eerie tendrils transforming the familiar into the unknown. And yet, there's an element of romance in losing your way. The obscuring mist lies waiting, filled with ghosts of characters past, their tales whispering through leagues of drifting air. Weather and geography leave their mark as much as the inhabitants themselves, for the city is shaped by more than the grit of labour and the zeal of invention. Its expansive sprawl ebbs and flows with the boundaries of human ambition, shadows pooling ever deeper where stone embraces river. So here we are, in the heart of Victorian London, a place bustling with life yet filled with mysteries that resist the march of time. In this burgeoning epicenter, each step takes you further from the world you know and deeper into Victorian splendor and squalor. As the city envelops you, prepare yourself for a tale where survival lies in both the details of the material and the whispers of the imagination. With each street crossed and each accent overheard, you embrace the charm and challenge of navigating a world forever straddling past opportunity and future promise. As the streets of Victorian London unfold before you, a maze of possibilities and hidden pathways stretches out, offering both peril and potential in equal measure. The daunting task of navigating these bustling thoroughfares begins with grasping the basics, where you're headed and how best to get there without becoming lost amidst the throng. Despite the grandeur suggested by its status as the heart of a global empire, Victorian London can feel like a labyrinth, where each turning corner presents another winding alleyway. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads and peering down Whitechapel Road, where the diversity of those around you is reflected in the medley of accents Cockney mingling with brogues from across the British Isles and beyond. Nearby, Fleet Street hums with the print of headlines that captivate the city, while Piccadilly's more genteel hum serves as an aperture into high society. Navigating the intricacies of these roads develops into an art form all its own. The map in your head must expand to include not just main avenues but the byways and shortcuts locals favour. Old shops may disguise themselves within ageless buildings, their wares spilling out onto pavements in defiance of modern claims of organisation. Imagine dodging the constant stream of cabs and omnibuses that barrel through intersections, their drivers often found shouting curses at one another, a peculiar symphony built upon the rhythm of wheels and shouts. The trick is to fall into sync with this chaotic dance, confident in your steps as you sidestep the haphazardly piled refuse and unpredictable trickles of water from overhead eaves. Attuned to local cues, you soon learn that street names can offer cryptic hints of their origins. The derivations of various alisum named for forgotten trades or figures reads as cryptic runes in the textbook of city life. Historians still argue whether this nomenclature evolved through wordplay or settled into place with scant regard to consistency. The unique character of London lies not only in its byways, but in its vivid contrasts. The vibrancy of Covent Garden, a buzzing hive of theatre and commerce, juxtaposed with the silent contemplation of adjoining churchyards. Pausing at a junction in Bloomsbury, you might find yourself among bookstalls, peddling dog-eared tomes, cherished treats for penny-conscious scholars. Do not neglect the majestic bridges that link the metropolis across its defining river. These steel and stone arches conquer watery divides, channeling the flurry of boot soles and cartwheels alike to the southern reaches of Lambeth and Southwark. Stand on top one, for instance, London Bridge, and delight in the flow of vessels beneath your feet, while reflecting that, unlike the myth, the bridge is quite stable these days. Nevertheless, it pays to remain ever vigilant. Arms hold tightly to your coin purse, while another hand keeps a firm hold on maps, or better yet, make note of local signposts. Even the seemingly quaint memory of street gas lamps renders paths potentially treacherous, casting erratic yellow pools light against lengthening shadows. Watch where your feet land. A puddle in the cobblestones may possess depth unseen, capable of turning ankles and dampening spirits. Practice patience in this stampede of feet, where moving as a tide can open opportunities not visible from the safety of the sidewalk. By chance, stepping aside might reward you with the lively spectacle of street performers, from juggling acts to nimble acrobats testing their craft against cloistered gravity. Some might say these encounters are stroke-of-luck moments, clusters where a prickly policeman keeps watch nearby, or an enterprising pickpocket plies their trade, gaiety contrasting with tutting and codes of old propriety. Yet the spectral tales of London are not restricted to gloom and bureaucracy. Step into an antique shop at twilight, guided by the window's whimsical promise of curiosities beyond reason. There you might discover an ancient chart that claims to hold the ultimate shortcuts across the city, ink smudged by time but inviting enough to draw out a hearty chuckle at its expense. Thus, set your feet forward with hopeful intent and keen eye. Embrace the heart-pounding thrill of those roads less travelled, where rambling detours lead to surprising encounters. Who knows? Perhaps your wanderings will deliver you to a moonlit square, a refuge from the clamour, where the spirits of Victorian London histories, etched beneath worn facade, share quiet approval with the lucky soul that dares linger on the path once taken. As your breath slows after one such adventure through the city's web, the realization blossoms. You have navigated Victorian London well enough to make it your own. Dressing the part is paramount if you're to slip seamlessly into the fabric of Victorian London society. The era's fashion is not merely attire. It's a statement of status, identity, and compliance to the rigid codes that govern appearance. As you step from the dim shadows of a tailor's shop, the rustle of fabric and the click of boot heels accompany your newfound persona. Gentlemen start with the intricacies of morning dress, the standard attire for a day in town. You don a well-fitted frock coat, carefully fastened with brass buttons, over a waistcoat that offers an opportunity for personal flair, be it through a bold pattern or a lavish colour. Beneath this, a crisp white shirt, starched to perfection, and a stiff collar which might feel like a discomfort more bearable than the social faux pas of being without one. Fastidious ties knot at your throat. The Windsor hasn't been invented yet, so stick with an intuitive knot, and you add the finishing touch with a top hat, cocked at just the right angle for maximum dashing effect. Ladies, your ensemble begins with the delicate crinoline, an understructure that will either draw admiring glances or steer you like a sail in blustery conditions. Onto this foundation, layers of fabric are added, starting with a full-bodied gown that falls in graceful cascades to your feet. Rich satins and sumptuous silks swirl with patterns that whisper stories of social events or an inner rebellion against the status quo. At your arms, lace gloves slink like elegant whispers, and no self-respecting lady would be seen without her parasol, unfurled like a beacon of refined femininity. Should the evening turn chilly, a shawl or capelet, fastened with a brooch of sentimental or monetary value, keeps both cold and impropriety at bay. Either way, remember to ensure your boots are polished to a mirror shine, for it is said that one's character can be discerned by the gleam on their shoes. An endeavour that might require more elbow grease than you'd initially anticipate. Victorian fashion extends beyond clothes into the realm of accessories and subtle scents. Pocket watches emerge as symbols of punctuality and prosperity, their engraved cases offering minuscule canvases for intricate craftsmanship. For ladies, a brooch pin or a modest locket, often filled with a beloved's photograph or a lock of hair, hangs discreetly on display. The aromatic swirls of lavender or rosewater arise as genteel accompaniment amidst layers of mist and machine. You may inquire how these sartorial expressions emerged. Historians still argue whether fashion dictated societal norms or vice versa. A contemplative circle passed from one generation to the next. However much these clothes speak of present time, the future remains a subject largely cloaked in mystery, just as you remain ensconced in layers artfully assembled. But beware, stepping outside these fashionable bounds might provoke raised eyebrows. A neckcloth too flamboyant or a skirt raising above ankles whisper could spiral one's reputation into gossip mills, some more metaphorical than others. It's a delicate balance to walk upon the fashion tightrope, all while maintaining appearances of nonchalance. Finally, explore the gentle yield of the milliner's domain, where feathered concoctions, dubbed by some as hats, perch atop coiffured hair, ready to brave any breeze capable of unseating such plumage. Yet it is the parlous, often farcical tale of corsets that lingers most in discussions of Victorian attire, constrictive devices squeezing breath and rib alike. Some speak of a persistent myth about these garments that commands a shudder. Tales of these tailored binds so treacherous they caused fainting spells, though the veracity of these were likely as exaggerated as the silhouettes they created. Through Britain's adopting climate, neither the summer's warmth nor winter's rawness escape their challenges. Yet the insistence on finery remains undeterred. It isn't so much about standing out, indeed, as blending in, peppering one's presence within the incomplete puzzle depicting the era, and there, within the hushed exchanges and clandestine glances of promenades and drawing rooms, you realise that in Victorian London, attire becomes an extension of self, an unspoken narrative threading through silks and satins, telling stories of ambitions unfulfilled and identities painstakingly crafted. So gird yourself, literally and figuratively, as you immerse into the cityscape, one elegant step at a time, embodying the very spirit of the age through the language of fashion, a subtlety as sharp and timeless as the needle that crafted each garment worn. Your carefully crafted appearance now matches the vibrant pulse of London's marketplaces, where commerce hums like a well-tuned engine and the air is rich with the scent of fresh produce mixed with coal smoke. Welcome to the epicenter of Victorian shopping culture, a bustling hive of opportunity, as well as a delicate play of negotiation and wit. Step into Covent Garden, a microcosm of the city's commercial life, where traders and buyers collide in a medley of transactions. Here, bursts of colour from freshly picked apples and fragrant flowers stand out against the just as colourful banter of merchants. Their cries, "Lovely ripe tomatoes" and "sweet strawberries," fill the air like a chorus performed daily, each pitch a melody designed to tempt passers-by into parting with their hard-earned coin. You manoeuvre through stalls stacked high with wares, maintaining a cautious eye on your pocketbook. The crowded aisles demand agile reflexes as the crowd ebbs and flows with a life of its own. Stall holders, seasoned in the arts of persuasion, initiate banter honed to engage even the most reluctant shopper. Master the art of haggling here, where price tags are merely starting points for a verbal sparring match. Your phrase, "Surely we can do better on the price," might coax a sly nod from behind a wry smile. Bread and cheese, those staples of an everyday Victorian meal, join more exotic offerings as the city's colonial reach brings spices and rare treats from distant lands. Imagine the flavours of cardamom, or the pungent allure of nutmeg punctuating the air, hints of the empire's vast expanse embracing every corner of the market. Historians still argue whether these diverse culinary influences softened social barriers or reinforced them through divisive displays of wealth. Beyond consumables, you spy the tantalizing glint of copper kettles and fine bone china cups that evoke the more lavish afternoon teas enjoyed in ornate parlours. Stalls displaying second-hand clothing offer an alternate narrative in worn fabric, each piece carrying whispers of stories from previous owners. Even here, fashion remains a proud badge, a mix of survival strategy and luxury in the making. The bazaar feels rhythmic and almost alive. Ruby red garnet pendants and shoulder-pawn jugs vie for attention among an array of treasures from uniquely different walks of life. At Spitalfields, the cries of sellers mix with the chimes of church bells, an ever-present reminder of both time's passage and the community's faith. The marketplace serves not only as an economic centre, but as a space where echoes of camaraderie and competition merge into a curious harmony. You overhear snippets of conversations about rising prices or imagination-laden rumours spoken with conviction. As facilities for trading textiles and silks, the market transforms from a pool of transactions into a cradle of budding social ventures. Amidst this bustling symphony, let's not forget London's infamous flea markets like Petticoat Lane, where the eclectic jumble of goods stretches from the mundane to the bizarre. Here trade breathes an air of delightful chaos, and stalls offer everything from dusty books to bizarre trinkets of questionable origin. It's here you might come across a curious etching of dubious authenticity, or a peculiar contraption you're told it's a precursor to the modern shoehorn, but who's to say otherwise? Such oddities may puzzle more than they charm, but they invite conversation nevertheless. But pace yourself. The engine of London's commerce hums from dawn's breaking light until late afternoon shadows cast elongated shapes, forcing merchants to reluctantly pack away goods for another day. As you depart the market, the constant bustle seems to linger at the edge of your senses, providing a sense of urgency that matches the city's timeless energy. As sunlit memories of your market day remain, a narrative of sights and sounds, enriched by laughter and bustling footsteps, weaves into your thoughts, clothing them in a tapestry of vivid experiences. Here, amidst the clamour and chaotic charm, you have braved the colourful spirit of Victorian trade and learned that in this city, every transaction is more than an exchange. This vibrant chapter has left its mark, an echo of history written within each transaction, shaping the fabric of London's mercantile evolution. You'll carry these stories with you as both a visitor and participant, inviting ponder on the deeper exchanges between buyer and seller, stories that blend individual fates into the sprawling saga of the Victorian marketplace. Glad to impress after a successful foray into the bustling marketplaces, you now find yourself in the realm of social expectations, where words, gestures, and even the slightest nod hold weight and consequence. Navigating the classifieds of Victorian London society demands an understanding of etiquette as intricate as the lace on a lady's gown, marking your place on the social ranking board with each interaction. As you traverse this promenade of manners, you're keen to follow the lead of those artful in their social manoeuvring. Picture the precision of tipping a hat or executing a curtsy. each motion imbued with meaning open to interpretation. It's a delicate dance where those less practiced risk losing their way amidst the steps of protracted social conventions. Ever mindful of your surroundings, you hone an intuitive sense of timing, when to bow or offer your glove in greeting, each pause an accent in the language of civility. Victorian society places enormous stock in hierarchy, and understanding the unspoken rules becomes a requirement rather than a choice. A gentle reminder: gentlemen precede ladies on stairways, reversing expectations in pursuit of propriety. Do remember, the etiquette prescribes that a gentleman always walks on the outer side of the pavement to shield his companion from any unforeseen splashes or grime. A selfless act played out daily. The art of conversation serves as another frontier, where tongue and wit meet, mingling with aspirations and perceptions, all wrapped within the corral of verbal decorum. It's not merely what you say, but how it's delivered that defines you. Engaging in said discourse involves an arsenal of artful listening, thoughtful responses, and those geographically British lingerings. Beware the lure of politics, viewed as lowbrow amidst polite company, for conversation should weave lightly through topics like literature, the latest theatre productions, or tomorrow's weather. A favourite Victorian subject, since it remains ever relevant, yet safely distant. Your social encounters require more than verbal poise. Watchful eyes note which fork you select at dinner. Illusion versus reality emerges as a métier, with more prongs symbolising affluence and sophistication many struggle to embody. Banquets, after all, are more than meals. They're societal ballet, accented by the orchestra of glassware clinking and silverware chiming in strategic symphony. Historians still argue whether Victorian dinners served as feasts for sustenance or public performances in grandeur's name. Experience the magic when hosting turns into a theatre of warmth and comfort, where hospitality matches claims of wealth. As an invitee, acceptances and farewells signal entrances and exits from this sophisticated play of rooms and corridors, dispatching thank you notes to show your gratitude in stylistic grace. There, beneath layers of societal positioning, women maneuver like chameleons on Venetian glass, adept in maintaining roles often prescribed by men with unspoken preconceptions. Yet within this gilded labyrinth, friendships formed in confidence provide moments of solidarity that outpace the suffocating juntas of assumed affability. A lighter anecdote often explores the quirks found lingering in Victorian parlours, where the discovery of a moustache cup as an essentiality leads to laughter. These cups feature a shelf for gentlemen to protect impressively waxed spectacles from dipping into their tea, a quaint innovation, solving dilemmas perhaps less apparent in contemporary times. While strolling across the Hyde Park's verdant stretches, the traditions of promenade reinforce social hierarchies. The parade is not simply a walk, but a showcase, and here you learn to perfect your nods, your posture, and your strategic pauses by the Serpentine, lending depth to an otherwise unassuming walk. Returning to your quarters after such interactions, the pomp of high society leaves a sensory imprint. A tapestry of echoes woven from lancet windows, gaslight palaces, and a sea of subtle sound. Embark from this well-coiffed journey as you cross manners both imposing and humble, harbouring the realization that beneath velvet layers, the heart of those you meet and greet remains largely enigmatic. Ambiguity stretches its tapestries across refineries and dwellings. Now social navigation becomes an exercise in charm and strategy. Each refreshment an invitation extended beyond the glass and crown. You've mastered more than social graces, unfolding stories whispered amidst nods and half-glances, tales bound within courtly confines, where the heart often longs for freedom beneath the veil of etiquette-oiled precision. With social niceties firmly in hand, your path now angles towards a phenomenon shaping Victorian London beyond mere appearances: the Industrial Revolution. Breathe in London's air, tinged with the unmistakable scent of coal and innovation, as the cadence of progress reverberates across cobblestones and into the very fabric of daily life. Stand amidst a scene of mesmerizing tumult. Factories serve as beacons of productivity, their smokestacks exhaling persistent plumes that curl upwards to seat themselves against leaden skies. If you listen closely, you discern the rhythmic clanging of machinery from within these manufacturing giants, a symphony of endeavour punctuated by bursts of steam valves. The era of mechanical marvels has arrived, thrusting society towards unprecedented transformations, a revolution at once intangible and relentless. Its relentless beat demands universal participation, whether willingly stated or resolutely routine. Picture rows of looming buildings, each bulwarked against the relentless rise of industrial processes operating by piston and lever's dictum. These mechanical titans bolster an age fixated on growth, yet its rapid pace relentlessly affects those who toil at its heart. Engage in the town's dizzying collection of noise and dynamism, where you'd note that even young hands find themselves conscripted into this industrial army. Joining factory floors fills them with a curiosity mingled with awe, though the reality of perpetually spinning cotton and creaky shop looms often replaces wonder with weariness. Historians still argue whether this technological evolution delivered liberation or perpetual bondage, as it diverts human effort from craft to monotonous practice, stripping manual wonders of creativity in service of efficiency. Additionally, the societal impact of tearing labor from artisan projects has reverberated across economic strata. Luxury born from industry's fruits is not evenly reaped by those who assemble them in the first place. A walk through the city's arteries reveals glimpses of reinventiveness amid times of widespread change. Cobblestones rattling beneath whirring contraptions, unsteady experiments presented each week at bustling exhibitions. Those of consequence, without fear of grease stains upon a waistcoat hem, might wander through the great exhibition at Crystal Palace, though often its mechanical enchantments remain paradigms in absence of practical necessity. Yet, as streets wind their course, you bear witness to both jubilation and the toll exacted by this ongoing saga. Skyline shadows cast by modern marvels such as St Pancras Station's expansive train shed evoke industrial metamorphosis alongside architectural splendour, symbols of people cast out from their agrarian histories into the embrace of urbanity's future. Further, beyond billowing forges, you observe a spirited counter-movement. The Luddites represent a faction that protests prosperity's mechanical dance, arguing that machines crumble livelihoods with intrinsic disregard for those placed beside metal cogs and unfaltering steam. Enthused with purpose, they claim rustic solidarity and sympathy within public sympathies, their own tales swept up by climes of progress. Viewed from many angles, the Industrial Revolution births interface between light and shadow. Here, unity becomes a conscious acknowledgement where humanity emphasizes innovation's role, both brightening paths and casting silhouettes in the candle-lit landscape stretched before your fingertips. As revolutions seek culmination through cast-iron heralds or sharp copper accents, a countercurrent exists quietly, illuminating possibilities of balance and reconciliation. For even whilst belching clouds press against greying edifices, somewhere distant, far impact remains constant. It is telling that even that machine-proud age should brave unseen futures with human imagination awake and ever-present. From this point forth, let every reconstructed millstone and polished rivet symbolize time's embrace of human ingenuity. It all converges upon a scene of determination and challenge, together weaving creativity with resilience towards an unknown horizon, nurtured by undertakings both grand and modest. You drift into contemplation of your place in this grand tableau. These sparks and engines propel you into communion with change, monitored by eyes sharp and unblinking, as they have always been. Thus, don your soot-kissed cloak woven with narrative threads. For though mechanical towers rise and fall, one element endures, and understanding that urbanity's chronicles are printed in a peculiar alloy, yet one supple enough to tolerate the shared dreams of tomorrows, tempered with empathy and resilience. Every echo you follow resounds with steely resolve, transforming both industry and observer into performers, fused within a time-altered dance of persistence and wonder anew. Amidst the swirling haze of industry, transportation emerges as a lifeline for London's bustling inhabitants, linking the city in a web of perpetual motion. Picture yourself swept up in this intricate maelstrom, where the very pulse of the city beats in rhythm with the clatter of wheels and the stampede of eager feet. You're faced with an array of options, each choice a testament to the ingenuity and energy of the Victorian era's restless spirit. Begin your journey aboard a horse-drawn omnibus, a familiar sight trundling its way over cobblestones, offering passengers the chance to travel with relative ease and a peculiar jostle born from the ruts underfoot. These sturdy carriages boast benches aligned for shared camaraderie, whose company varies from the genteel to the boisterous. Picture yourself squeezed shoulder to shoulder, exchanging hurried glances and overheard conversations, stories mirroring the city's pulse as much as the horses convey its momentum. Railways, no mere footnote in transportation history, rise as the symbol of progress. The iron arteries connecting the often compartmentalized regions of Great Britain. As the shrill whistle pierces the veil of morning fog and steam billows like a magician's wish into the air, you embark on the grand Goliath of transport, the steam train. This iron leviathan promises swift travel over previously insurmountable distances, knitting the fabric of society ever tighter by condensing once lengthy journeys into manageable escapades. Feel the rhythmic thrum of wheels beneath you. The landscape a blurred montage of country cottages and bustling town squares, each swift transition both thrilling and bewildering in its immediacy. It's worth contemplating whether this newfound pace invigorates or incites anxiety. As cities expand like ink blots, their reach empowered by the locomotive's persistence. Of course, riding the rails isn't just about reaching your destination. It's an opportunity to observe, embedded in the microcosm of passenger life, where businessmen, beguiling youths, and families intertwine in a class-conscious dance of societal navigation. For shorter jaunts, the trusty hansom cab reigns supreme, navigating the intricacies of urban topography with a horse's agility, a feat made possible by compact design and nimble drivers. It's the Uber of Victorian London, a signal to the world not only of your destination but of your standing and the small yet meaningful plays in city drama. Lean back in the close confines, the clip-clop of horses echoing around you as swaths of city life drift by, a curious compilation of pedestrians, vendors, and occasional mischief-makers, each vignette tempting your imagination. On rare occasions, you'll bear witness to the marvel of prototype contraptions like the velocipede, a precursor to bicycles that become the daring choice for those whose profiles court less than conventional modes of transport. Observe as they mosquito about the courtyards, driven by desire for independence as much as leisure, though balance often isn't in their favour. Transport belongs to more than tangible engines and conveyances. It forms the backbone of empire, providing passage through more exotic ports. Steamboats in particular, with their ornate interiors, offer routes fit to glide on global currents beyond London's visage. These articulated figures of steel and wood paddle down rivers, binding narratives with waves, each passage an odyssey beyond the turbulent waters of the Thames embrace. Historians still argue whether this expanse of innovation paved the way for harmony or induced chaos into the fabric of the Victorian age's ever-ticking clock. Like cogs in perpetual motion, the means by which one moves serve as palpable conundrums, empowering accessibility and fostering cultural exchanges, yet increasing the strife of overburdened roads and overpopulated hubs. You step adroitly from train to carriage to ship, astounded by the delicate interplay at work. This ballet tickled humorously by one commonality through the ages, getting from point A to point B, and all the mishaps in between. When rain descends in torrents, turning streets to murky rivulets, even the most seasoned traveller concedes to delays, bound within nature's framework. Conditions demand flexibility, an eagerness to swap destinations or find alternative routes, evoking laughter shared among patient strangers. As dusk settles, London's hustle mellows into the rhythm of lamplights, casting huge shadows upon familiar routes. Transportation reverts to necessity, where the city welcomes those homeward bound from labour, fares paid with pennies worn by countless hands, forging connection among diversity. With every choice you make, from stepping aboard locomotives to hailing hansom cabs, you engage in the act of transportation, a grand narrative of individuals drawn together, unified in their transient traversal, resonant with the vibrant pulse of London herself. In these veins of momentum, you witness the era's heart, its indefatigable energies. Trapped in dialogue with destination and death, continuing your journey through the vicissitudes of Victorian London, you find yourself contemplating the concept of home within this sprawling, evolving cityscape. Housing, whether within a lavish townhouse or humble tenement, becomes a testament to one's social station, with each dwelling acting as both refuge and reflection of status in the heart of the empire. Strolling along the opulent avenues of the West End, your gaze inevitably turns to the grand facades of well-to-do neighbourhoods, where stuccoed fronts and manicured gardens boast of the Victorian enthusiasm for decorative opulence. Behind these stately entrances lies a world meticulously arranged, from drawing rooms laden with plush sofas and ornate fireplaces, to dining rooms bedecked in crystal and porcelain. A a setting fit for hosting the highest echelons of society. The bustling sculleries and kitchens below stairs tell another story. Here resides the orchestrated rhythm of domestic work, where staff maintains the smooth running of households, unseen yet essential components in this intricately woven web of social display. The clatter of pots, the rustle of afternoon tea being prepared, all unfold like a synchronized ballet, each servant well versed in their role, aspiring to the elusive stability a life of service ostensibly provides. Move eastward, and the grandiosity dissipates into a panorama of cramped streets and closely packed buildings common to the working class. Tenements rise resolutely toward the dull clouds, a singular entity fostering multifaceted lives within their modest confines. Picture rooms, where families live in close proximity, the atmosphere vibrating with domestic activity and communal resilience. In these bustling quarters, life brims with the sounds of children's laughter, mingled with the labour of tradespeople. Historians still argue whether the close quarters promoted camaraderie among neighbours, or were a necessary evil forced by economic pressures that sculpted these edifices. Regardless, solidarity often blossoms in shared struggles, crafting neighbourhoods with ties of kinship and cooperation. These spaces, both opulent and humble, illustrate a city in flux, a grand social experiment wherein architecture mirrors aspiration, achievement, or sheer perseverance. Each domicile, from the sweeping staircase of an opulent home to the dimly lit stairwells of a tenement, tells a unique story, weaving a narrative tapestry populated by myriad lives, both insider and outlier. Central heating, a marvel yet emerging in promised comfort, finds itself rivaled by the steadfast companionship of a coal or wood-burning stove. Religion and its accoutrements linger in the household dramas of sitting rooms and parlours. Crucifixes standing sentinel over both simple hearth fireplace stacks and grand marble mantels alike. Yet beyond stone and mortar, the constant flux of property serves another purpose, as landlords seek profit and rents climb with the insatiable appetite of the metropolis. The game of property ownership taps into the amorphous institutions of wealth, as developers carve new districts and railways coax outer neighbourhoods into London's sprawling embrace. From cramped alleyways lit by narrow threads of gaslight, children spill into streets and cobblestones, their presence accepted as a living extension of bricks and dust. Even stray cats weave between the feet of a community, tiny architects in a grid teeming with life. Newly blossoming suburbs stand stark against their elder districts, a promise of pastoral calm unfulfilled as expansion beckons ever outward toward railway fringes. These areas become a riddance for those fatigued by the overpowering noise of more central locales, a grudging acknowledgement inflamed by class egos that amass within sheer proximity. Then again, let us remember the rooftops, dusty balconies stacked like stories deprived of fortune. Perched high above the ramble, an array of people below. Rooftops harbour laundries, flapping sheets, poor man's sails afloat, granting transient solace, permitting escape to dreams beyond constrained confines. For there remains more to observe. As homes carry different scales of pursuit, these sanctuaries offer glimpses where time itself grows heady, resistant to measured clocks. Through laughter and tears, hospitality and exclusion, the city's habitats harbour swirling tales awash with the vivid experiences of their inhabitants. As evening mellows into night, feet weary and eyes tracing stories set within stone, you wend your way amid this grand collage of human emotion and ambition. With the tactile echoes of these dwellings still resonant, you retreat, savouring the kaleidoscopic intimacy of domestic life that stitches together eras long past. Though bricks may crumble and bodies separate into history's abyss, the essence within remains, a siren call to time's ciphers. Homes they were, and shall remain, sanctuary for echo's dream eternally painted in tandem with London's growth. Here, beneath countless firmaments, lies a singular revelation. In this city of myriad homes, the concept of place marries the notion of belonging, always reinforcing that, even within the broadness of empire, every heart finds its hearth. With the myriad dwellings of Victorian London behind you, your senses now draw you to another crucial aspect of the era: its cuisine. A palette as varied as the city's inhabitants themselves. As you weave through streets adorned with the enticing aromas of buttered crusts and roasting meat, Prepare to embark on a culinary journey that reveals the intricate essence of everyday life in a bustling metropolis. Picture a market scene bustling with activity, vibrant displays of produce and artisans peddling their goods to an eager public. Beyond the hustle and clamour, the scents of spices and dried herbs permeate the air, heralding the diversity brought by trade routes stretching across the globe. In the heart of Victorian London, dining is an experience guided not only by appetite, but by a keen awareness of societal standing and culinary availability. Start your day, as any respectable Victorian might, with a hearty breakfast fit for fortifying even the weariest of souls. Imagine the cracking shell of a perfectly boiled egg, or slices of ham sizzling next to thick, slathered hunks of well-buttered toast. Accompanied by a piping pot of tea, or the rare indulgence of coffee, this morning ritual serves as a bastion against the demands awaiting beyond the breakfast table. Food's role as an anchor in social life unravels further during lunch, often taking the form of a lighter, yet equally significant, meal. For the affluent, midday invitations serve as opportunities. You find yourself gingerly devouring courses, meticulously prepared under cloche and silver dome, where conversation dances lightly between mouthfuls, as if punctuated by the gleam of cutlery. Those less fortunate might settle for more modest fare, a robust serving of soup, its aroma a comfort against the day's grind. As evening descends, dining room tables transform into grand stages showcasing gastronomic expertise. A Victorian dinner with its multiple courses unveiled through theatrical flourish invites you to savour everything from creamy consommes and opulent roasts to desserts lined with syllabubs and trifles, artfully constructed with layers of aesthetic precision. In what might now be considered an edible adventure, eel pies and jugged hare make their debut dishes, whose idiosyncrasy provokes curiosity, albeit with hesitation. But be wary of red-backed scuttlebutts. Tales of meats unfit for the discerning palate abound, tucked into sausages better left uneaten. Historians still argue whether the over-reliance on such proteins marked ingenuity amid scarcity, or an unwitting nod to resourcefulness otherwise malign. Nevertheless, a wealth of choices awaits those brave enough to frequent bustling eateries and pie shops, each shop shouting its signature dish to tempted passers-by. A casual perusal of street corners reveals a veritable cornucopia of flavours and textures: oysters consumed en route, a quick foray into pickled whelks, or the fortifying presence of potato-stacked shepherd's pies, warming many a labourer's hand. Vendors peddle their wares in a market tableau, where clamour dissolves into camaraderie, as the steaming confluence of aromas enhances the city's flavourful offerings. Do not overlook desserts, which dance amid culinary traditions, for sugar abounds in creations both classic and contemporary. Rich plum puddings, tarts filled with clastic whose consistency rivals silk, and woman-made confections tempt the eager palate towards indulgence. Tea, a quiet celebration unto itself, punctuates these confections, soothing any lingering hunger in exchange for rich, comforting warmth. Yet, your culinary exploration also beckons the contradictions accompanying such hedonistic extremes. Soup kitchens offer respite to souls less fortunate afflicted by scarcity's grip, while breadlines signal privations consequential to progress's gold-embroidered tapestry. Look beyond dichotomies, recognizing a society stitched by both abundance and the evidence of want. You drift through shifting culinary epochs, as each meal renders its piece within the grander Epicurean mosaic. As stories persist through cooking fires and hearths, they unravel deep connections between traditions cherished and fused by swelling populations, united through vast empires. The sumptuous banquets of homes and streets merge, preserving heritage whilst fostering creativity amid the currents of innovation. Thus, time itself threads seamlessly across shared tables, every culinary encounter breathing life into the vestiges of collective experience. Through flavours robust and candid bygone, the sugar and spice eaten upon Victorian lips shape an unforgettable tale, never singular, yet always profoundly yours. As you navigate this expansive narrative, appreciation flourishes for food's enlivening power, casting an enduring spell edible upon each divergent path. These savoury chronicles linger upon tongue and heart, tracing tendrils past deceptive simplicity to reveal transient wonders arising in a city unrepentantly fixated upon its feast of flavours. Your palate, now cultured through intricate explorations, merges sentiment with history, a communion rendered more poignant by the tapestry of these gastronomic pleasures. Amanair turns invocation, seeking solace and insight within nourishment, as you drift further through vivid tales, shaped and savourful, one culinary cadence at a time. As you digest the culinary delights of Victorian London, your path inevitably leads to the complex tapestry of social classes that weave their influence through the city's every corner. The grandeur and squalor alike echo with the sounds of movement between the rungs of society's sturdy, though often slippery ladder. It's a hierarchy where position and propriety reign supreme, marking individuals like brushstrokes on a sprawling canvas. Ambling through London's bustling lanes, you bear witness to the overt and subtle manifestations of class distinctions. Immediate impressions are formed by how individuals present themselves. Those, in meticulous attire, with hats tipped at just the right angle, might denote affluence, while the rough woolen wraps and patched boots of others tell of their humble origins. The social dance plays out in drawing rooms and street corners alike, each player acutely aware of their place within its intricate pattern. Victorian society neatly categorizes its people, with the aristocracy and gentry perched at the pinnacle. These families accrue power and prestige through lineage, often residing in stately homes defined by grand architecture and sprawling gardens. Here, an evening's entertainment is a spectacle to see and be seen, where the connection reinforces bonds more binding than the corset's grip. Imagine, however, the half-genteel middle class striving tirelessly to ascend toward loftier aspirations. This emergent group crafts its image through careful curation. A curate's egg of thrift, industriousness, and occasional indulgence in foreign jaunts. For those with slightly looser purse strings, clerks, merchants, and professionals wrangle with the art of self-reliance, embodying the spirit of ambition tempered by practicalities. Their hearth fires warm with hope as much as with ambition's relentlessness in seeking both improvement and acceptance. Meanwhile, the swelling ranks of the working poor labour within factories and service, embedded within the rigorous wheel of production that sustains both city and countryside. Their toil ceaselessly hums beneath the din of urban cacophony, casting shadows upon pavements imbued with long, weary steps and modest dreams. Public houses become sanctuaries, where voices weary from the day's exertion lift in brief joy or linger over moot grievances, addressed only by temporary libations. Yet, delve deeper into this multifaceted society, and you encounter cogs long embedded in class mechanisms, occasionally permitting exceptions, effort granted respites, glimpse or misfortune encountering compassion's grace. Philanthropic endeavours seek to dissolve entrenched struggles, their programmes, schools offering knowledge and alms, extending sustenance, breathing hope into lives caught with entangled threads of inequity. Historians still argue whether this labyrinthine system upheld order, glossed a folly of privilege, or promised meritocracy's emergence from enough dedication. Opportunities, scarce though they be, arise fortuitously for those fortunate or audacious enough to grasp them. Small victories echoing uplift amid spirits resilient as cobblestones bearing enduring marks. In the shops and markets, diversions of fashion and finery invite slight diversions from life's routine. Here, commerce fosters curious blending, for no one facet of society stands isolated from the cross-currents created by industry and empire. Each purchase becomes a minor victory, a proclamation of identity regardless of station, leaving its imprint upon both owner and beholder. Rich conversations drift through the air, sometimes braving political discourse, straddling interests aggressive with reform or swayed by tradition's dictates. As tongues wag, ideas transform, and giants of change straining against the antiquated frames they sought to liberate. It is a balancing act, progress and prudence contending with nostalgia's pull, rooted in empire's hub. Within this evolving world, you observe tales, an open secret, that opportunities remain as sought after today as in the past. Navigating this hierarchical maze demands as much intuition as perseverance, where each misstep serves as teaching and triumph fuels evolution, merging aspiration with self-identity anew. As you drift further into your tales, a recognition blooms. Each character graces their place in society's tableau, leaving an indelible mark upon the collective narrative within their era's struggle and spirit. Even harder lives intertwine richly sentient experiences underlying the human condition. Thus, within dank alleyways or lit with candles' glow, you find reverberations hosting stories unfurled, tales spun from earnest birthright, carrying definitive whispers into time immemorial. These parallel paths filter through the veils of perception, equal parts tale and truth, charting journeys on roads less taken, yet near impossible not to follow. So imbibe wisdom dispatched within this boundless, ephemeral waltz through Victorian London's chronicles, compositions balancing fiercely inquisitive heart beside defiant spirit, insight cultivated from the very marrow of open-eyed inquiry, charted by dreams. Here, social class both delineates and dictates paths embarked, striking chords melodious and solemn within human tapestry, meshed in narrative symphony, shaped by time and place. As the realities of social classes settle into a backdrop, you find yourself negotiating the realm of health and medicine, a domain marked by innovation, hope, and often rudimentary practices that blur the lines between cure and calamity. In a Victorian London teeming with life, public health becomes a crucial concern, a battle waged between the promise of emerging scientific understanding and the shadows of ancient superstitions and crude remedies. Walking the streets, you discover the multifaceted challenges of maintaining health in such a bustling urban sprawl. Diseases such as cholera and typhoid lurk in the contaminated water supply, reminders of a quickly modernizing society racing to catch up with its growing demands. You find yourself marveling at the complexity of London's new sewer systems, a triumph of engineering designed to carry away the filth that once clogged the city's veins and fueled its pandemics. Efforts to reform public health flourish under figures like John Snow, whose methodical approach to identifying the source of cholera outbreaks marks the dawn of epidemiology. Imagine his determination as he meticulously maps outbreaks, pinning their cause not to miasma's long-thought-to waft disease, but to a single water pump on Broad Street. Historians still argue whether his work alone transformed public health policy or if wider systemic change was already inevitable, but his legacy resonates through every sanitization protocol adopted since. While the men and women of science work diligently, those outside the medical elite continue to lean on age-old health practices, tinctures, and a dash of hopeful magic. Step inside a typical apothecary, where fragrant spices and mysterious powders line wooden shelves, offering remedies that range from the dubious to the miraculously effective. Here, opium-based laudanum might be suggested for pain, a double-edged sword of relief, while quinine's bitter tang hints at malaria's eventual defeat. Cure-alls and elixirs promise repose, although one must often rely on faith over efficacy, leaving results as ambiguous as the ingredients themselves. In an era where ignorance and knowledge intersect, alternative therapies enjoy widespread popularity, and practices like bloodletting cling to the fringes of modernity's embrace, its logic rooted as much in tradition as desperation. Within the cloisters of private residences, you might find healing contemplations relying as much upon prayer and poise as upon groundbreaking advances. Beliefs remain as guided by societal sway as personal testimony. For the privileged, access to private doctors promises the best in burgeoning medical science. These physicians, armed with the latest anatomical knowledge and preparations, cater to ailments with varying degrees of success. In their hands steady from training and resolve, rest the complex fates of development's lottery. Meanwhile, overcrowded hospitals, once charitable institutions stretched to their limits, offer beds in cramped wards where charity, compassion, and chaos coexist in equal measure. Charitable hospitals, such as St. Bartholomew's and Guy's, bear witness to the city's profound need, their structures providing points of solace. Yet crammed wards also teem with infections amidst the very souls seeking relief. Florence Nightingale's influence lingers as wards strive toward elevated hygiene standards, though practicality too often stumbles under the weight of overcrowded burden. Despite the many challenges, Victorian London finds itself on the cusp of great medical strides. Surgical techniques continue to improve, though not without tales of unsanctioned anatomy dissections offering learning but provoking public dismay. In this age, anaesthetics and antiseptics emerge as champions of change. Chloroform drifts dreamlike across the operating table, creating newfound access to pain-free surgeries, while Lister's carbolic acid works tirelessly to fend off the spectre of post-separative infections. Yet, not all stories are ones of progress. Women's health remains shrouded by society taboos, relegated mostly to whispered conversations among those affected. Treatments for conditions labelled as hysteria often focus on distressing cures. Hurdles for those with mental illness reiterate this sentiment, fostered upon lengthy stays in asylums, where approaches sometimes harm more than heal. leaving the comfort of wood-panelled isolation a bitter refuge. You journey through this unfolding narrative, resigned to the knowledge that on these streets, and within the rooms of hospital care, London's heart beats with juxtaposed shadows of conjecture and certainty astir. You recognise the connection between the era's health struggles, its glaring inequalities, and the advancements that would go on to revolutionise healthcare for generations to come. It is a story written in both triumphs and whispers, shadowed yet undeterred, a patchwork of humanity interwoven amidst London's vast sprawl. As you drift through Victorian London's medical realities, you navigate a tapestry rich in resilience, attuned to drawn-out elements of evolution, and an overarching theme of perpetual healing practice, woven from the time threads of experience shared, retold, one remedy and reflection at a time. Lifting yourself from the shadows of hospitals and the persistent hum of health concerns, you find refuge in the diverse world of Victorian entertainment, a tapestry woven with both high culture and the delightfully strange. It's a playground for the mind and senses, offering escapism amidst the struggles of 19th century life. Your first stop is the theatre, a vibrant hub where the dramas and comedies of the day unfold upon the stage, dazzling audiences from diverse backgrounds. The opera houses and playhouses of the West End vibrate with anticipation as the curtain rises, revealing sets as opulent and detailed as the tales they help tell. From Shakespearean revivals to the melodrama of new playwrights, the theatre provides a communal experience, a convergence where the social classes mingle, though not without a fair share of hierarchy, even in seating arrangements. Imagining the dynamic spectacle, you might observe the energetic entrances of Regency dandies vying for attention alongside feather-clad matrons. The audience's whispers, admiring or scandalize, add another layer to the performance, especially when a well-placed satirical jab lands or a dramatic scene ignites emotion. The artful use of lighting, still rudimentary by today's standards, adds shadows and ambience, transforming performances into dreamscapes of passion and performance. For more light-hearted amusement, the Victorian love of variety shows serves as a curious celebration of eccentric talents. Music halls throng with patrons eager to witness a gamut of acts, from robust singers whose arias fill the room, to jugglers deftly threatening gravity's pull, and comics jesting boldly against societal norms. Such performances become both spectacle and a chalkboard for dissent, voices raised in humour often cutting through society's prioritised bits of presumption. Move outdoors, and London's attraction to well-choreographed displays continues, with a burgeoning fascination for public events such as fairs and exhibitions. The Great Exhibition of 1851 at the Crystal Palace captures the quintessence of Victorian triumph, showcasing technological marvels and artefacts of empire. Imagine strolling through the mammoth glass and iron structure, a veritable cathedral of industry and art, where gleaming innovations lie nestled amidst cultural displays, each booth a microcosm of global achievement and aspiration. Amidst the opulent and orderly, a taste for the eccentric thrives. Side trips to the less expected entertainments lead you to witness human curiosities and abnormal talents, showcased in mysterious cabinets and travelling sideshows. Here, intrigue dances alongside ethics as the public gapes at wonders staged with theatrical flair. Historians still argue whether such exhibitions represent human curiosity or exploitation, yet they remain a strangely compelling part of the entertainment tapestry, where spectacle and moral reflection collide. Riding the tide of this cultural sea, literature emerges as another steadfast refuge, circling widely as spinning presses deliver the magic of printed word into countless hands. Serial novels, mirroring contemporary moral dilemmas or far-flung adventures, capture imaginations both grand and modest. Readers eagerly devour the works of Dickens, Trollope, and the Bronte sisters, with tales of the social milieu and sweeping romances nestled within the folds of periodicals that double as fire starters. Fiction provides a space to explore both societal constraints and possibilities for human connections, unbound by reinforced boundaries. Participate too in the quieter evenings by candle-lit hearths, where members of households cluster around the piano for rounds of familiar songs, each note echoing the cadence of cherished memories. A family parlour gains vibrancy as music raining from sombre elegies to lively folk ditties cocoons memories amidst one's learned lore, each musical strain engraving its part upon an enduring soul rhythm. All these facets, whether through dramatic or divine performance, peculiar exaggeration, or the written imagination, embody the era's taste for paradox and possibility. In its essence, Victorian entertainment affords a release, a moment's escape and reflection upon life's curiosity, as the fuel for creative souls reshaping a world in the midst of profound transition. So, with the vision of flickering gas lamps and vibrant banners still aglow, you return to your own quieter corner, warmed by the shared resonance of Victorian London's myriad entertainments. It's a symphony you might hum along to, reminded that within every living moment lies the opportunity for discovery and delight, nestled beyond the proscenium arch, spelled boldly upon every printed page, awaiting unfold upon your own realm of possibility. Through each ripple of applause or quickened heartbeat, you remain mindful of the past and present rhythm shared by living, breathing souls, echoing into an audience that never ceases to exist. Venturing forth from the vibrant tapestry of Victorian entertainment, you now find yourself drawn into the murky depths of crime and punishment, a domain where the shadows conceal tales of notoriety and justice's heavy hand. In this age of industrial innovation and social change, Victorian London grapples with law and order through a lens both pragmatic and occasionally polarised. Picture the city's streets, under the watchful eyes of policemen, popularly known as bobbies, making their rounds in their iconic blue uniforms and stout helmets. Established in 1829 by Sir Robert Peel, whose name they bear, this fledgling force serves as the thin blue line that seeks to maintain order amidst the burgeoning metropolis. Their steady presence becomes a comforting, albeit sometimes controversial, fixture, representing the law's attempt to keep pace with a rapidly changing society. Yet despite the diligent efforts of the police, and perhaps precisely because of them, a seedy underbelly persists within London's alleyways and corner pubs. It is a time when notorious criminal enterprises challenge the bounds of societal decency. The foggy streets of Whitechapel, for instance, harbour whispers of the infamous Jack the Ripper, whose brutal exploits unleash waves of fear and fascination. A sinister shadow cast upon an already dimly lit world, his case remains famously unsolved, making it the subject of speculation and scholarly debate to this day. You linger over tales of ingenious burglaries and confidence tricksters, whose cunning exploits become the stuff of both legend and law enforcement's challenge. As a listener, you can't help but be intrigued by the notorious criminals who populate the era, whether they be wily pickpockets or the ever-elusive jewel thieves crafting their reputations with every misdeed. Against this background, Victorian society exacts a heavy toll on those who step outside its legal confines. The justice system often appears more draconian than compassionate, its apparatus ranging from public hangings to sentences transported to penal colonies. The era's penchant for spectacle manifests in the immense crowds gathered before the gallows, eagerly anticipating the grim theatre of executions, a macabre reminder of finality's irreversible nature. It is said that a man might travel to Australia against his will, enduring not only the sentence but the rigours of the journey itself, as punishment, compounded by geographical estrangement. Within the formidable walls of prison hulks moored on the Thames, or the firm but reformative confines of Pentonville Prison, the echoes of iron shackles and echoic solitude exemplify punitive reform's darker hand. The exploratory efforts, some overconfident and others earnest, seek to redeem wayward souls through labour exceeding skin's endurance. Solitude becomes its own punishment, a placid reminder that freedom, once compromised, offers scantless comfort against constricted flesh and aspirations unmet. One curious side effect of these strictures reveals itself in how crime becomes a frequent subject of literature and public discourse. Sensationalized newspaper headlines and penny dreadfuls reflect the public's insatiable appetite for crime stories, capturing imaginations through serialized tales of detectives unraveling complex mysteries, a testament to both societal fears and fascinations. Stray into John Dover Wilson's realm, where Herculean fiction scribes breathe life into the stalwart detective. Men like Sherlock Holmes delve into the darkest recesses of humanity with aplomb, unearthing solutions styled upon thought's sheer observe. The mingling of fact and fiction blurs into heartbeats of a fascinated audience, each narrative architected upon possibility stridently unveiled. It's a curious dance that the era performs, grappling with justice both imperfect and nascent in strides, extending tenders between burgeoning progress and battle lines drawn along ethical landscaping. Within swell tongues, the conversational banquet seated upon paper remains ardent, illustrating subject and motive, layered perversely within the moral chime. Thus, as you consider these intricate tales of crime and punishment, you find yourself pondering not only the tangible transgressions committed, but also the broader reflections on human nature that emerge from them. Is justice the creation of society's mindful engineers, or an ever-shifting vision, as enigmatic as London's own fog-riven silhouette? Each adventure unfolded within Shadow's canvas sways in rhythmic musing, whispering to souls past and present, revealing societies as mirrors to their own aspirations and fears. In this world where discretion flirts with exposure, you've traced the labyrinthine tempts of justice served and stories concealed. As echoes of footsteps along abandoned alleyways still linger in the air, revel in the deeper understanding of a city always woven by its contradictions, where each tale integrates with life's grander narrative, a tapestry bound by laws both written and remembered, showing that even in darkness, the play of light can provide perspective most surprising. As the shadows of Victorian London's justice system fade from view, your attention turns toward the complex and often constrained world of women, a realm caught between the traditional and the transformative during this time of dynamic social evolutions. Here, in the heart of a rapidly modernizing society, women navigate an intricate web of societal expectations and evolving opportunities. The idealized Victorian woman, as imagined by the cultural mores of the time, finds her domain traditionally rooted within the home, a paragon of virtue, modesty, and domestic skill. Beneath suffocating corsets and layers of petticoats, she manages the household like a conductor, directing an intricate symphony of domestic harmony. Keeping the family well and the hearth tended could define her worth and fulfill society's expectations. Yet beneath this polished veneer lies a desire for more, a longing for voices to be heard beyond the confines of the drawing room and parlour. Despite societal constraints, this era also unfurls opportunities for women to quietly push boundaries. Education, once deemed the preserve of men, begins to open its doors, allowing women to venture beyond ornamental accomplishments to pursue knowledge with purpose and passion. Picture young minds awakened at institutions such as Bedford College, where academics mingle with thoughts of activism. Such enlightenment hints at futures pregnant with possibility, a realm where intellect steps forward from the shadow of decorum's more restricted cloak. Pockets of progress emerge. Women like Elizabeth Garrett Anderson pioneer medicine with resolute determination, defying convention to become the first female doctor in Britain after countless obstacles laid in her path. Her achievements cast a light through darkened halls, inspiring fledgling generations very much attuned to the synergies of ambition and resilience. Historians still argue whether these advancements were inevitable or courageous aberrations against prevailing norms, each perception carrying its motive within witness. In literature, the voices of women find a clandestine yet powerful outlet. Female authors such as the Bronte sisters and George Eliot, under male pseudonyms or not, pen novels that explore the boundaries of gender and societal role, an act of subversion through creativity. Their characters articulate the struggles and strengths of women navigating constrained paths, echoing sentiments felt by many as they endure life's realities, determined by expectations beyond one's innate aspirations. Yet, beyond the realm of books and boarding schools, persists a less romanticized reality. Even as these pathbreakers stride forward, the vast majority of women serve within a rigid fabric. Factory toil or domestic service weaves their days, where long hours press stamina against tenacity and hope. Here, the rhythm of assembly lines matches the beat of countless hearts yearning for better opportunities, even as threads bring respite in unity found after toils cease. While progress is palpable, the concept that women might occupy roles of influence in public life or politics remains dimly regarded in many quarters. Matrimony often exists as the socially condoned apex of a woman's achievements, making suffrage a dubious demand within the legal labyrinth restraining access to full citizenship. However, the seeds of change begin to sow relentless aspirations. The suffragist movement nurtures buds of social reform, feeding growth with resolve, each March meeting and manifesto reflecting a burgeoning desire for agency manifested in life's broader theatre. Gathering in parlours for lively debates, women discuss and organise, their demands for voting rights echoing far beyond Cambridge or Clapham Common. The exuberance of like-minded spirits soon ignites a quiet revolution, laying the groundwork for amplified voices that call for representation, though the full storm of suffrage lies beyond this century's close. Imagine suffragism itself mirrored in London's ever-evolving streetscape. A city where new opinions take root amid traditional structures, each building a testament to resilience and vision redefining boundaries. As carriage wheels clatter across cobblestones, each forward jolt and judicious brake reflects an internal struggle woven within society's reforming sinews. In contemplating the world Victorian women navigate, history casts its gaze beyond the sentimental to reveal a narrative written in steps both measured and bold, testing the flexibility of convention itself. For you, the resonance of these historical echoes invites reflection. A world shifts beneath familiar terrain, and yet is stronger for its undulating exploration. Through grace, resilience, and defiance, the narrative transforms, and future histories yield to form lesser-known paradigms and nuanced verities. Embrace the nuances of such pasts, allowing one's sight to rest beyond broad strokes' nostalgic ease. As tendrils reach forward, cautious, trails mark courage anew within life's intricacies. Altered, refined, and built upon hope's eloquent summoning, women of the era wrestle the fabric of their present into a tapestry deserving of fresh interpretation, forever inhabiting roles defined not by edict, but rather by the resonant pulse of dreams realized within endurance's intertwining cadence. Stepping from the world of women's evolving roles, you find yourself drawn to the lively and often poignant lives of Victorian children. In a city pulsating with the energy of innovation and change, children occupy a unique space, their existence defined as much by societal expectations as by the confines of class and circumstance. The streets of London unfurl as bustling playgrounds for these young residents, often more accustomed to freedom than regulation. Imagine a cavalcade of children filling narrow alleyways and busy thoroughfares with the sound of boisterous laughter and lively play. Games of hopscotch played on cobbles, marbles clattering on stone pavement, or a simple chase with improvised toys capture their imaginative spirit. Their breathless exuberance belies a deeper resilience shaped by the world around them. Yet, joy seldom paints the full picture. Many children occupy pivotal roles as contributors to family survival. Historians still argue whether child labour was a necessary aspect of economic survival or an appalling exploitation of innocence. A debate that turns the Victorian ethos like a prism, revealing both the sheen of industrious achievements and the shadows cast by desperation. In cramped, dim-lit factories, sharp-eyed youngsters operate contraptions too risky for adult hands, embodying small cogs in the empire's industrial engine despite diminutive frames. The factory floor is not their only domain. Children also find employment as chimney sweeps, their lithe bodies navigating soot-darkened tunnels. In service roles, they labour as errand boys, scullery maids, or apprentices, where their willing participation and tender years underpin lives constrained by societal needs and economic strategies, with education often sacrificed upon struggle's altar. The conversation about education begins to take root, however, as the winds of reform gently stir. The Elementary Education Act of 1870 heralds a nascent recognition of education's importance, mandating schooling for children aged 5 to 12. Schools, overcrowded yet hopeful, become gateways to potential, a haven where minds awaken to new ideas and future opportunities shimmer like gold-tipped horizons. Still, disparities persist even within these halls of learning. A child's access to quality education often mirrors household stature. Prestigious schools, open only to those able to pay tuition, signal the hope of upward mobility, while charity schools and religious institutions strive to bridge gaps for the deserving but disadvantaged. These divergent paths demonstrate education's dual nature, both aspirational and strategic, a truth coloured by income's telltale narrative. Picture the libraries, serviced by roving librarians, offering stories, tales, spinning yarns about distant lands, heroic quests, or fanciful ingenuity, each paged an advent for curious minds unbound by London's physical limits. Through these narratives, the children's imaginations stretch beyond allotted life roles, their identities fashioned not solely by circumstance, but now also by a collective embrace of possibility. In the domestic sphere, gender roles expected of children manifest from an early age. Young girls are often inducted into the art of domesticity, preparing for eventual roles as homemakers. Their brothers navigate different routes, taught skills deemed masculine and appropriate, taking place under watchful eyes, honing readiness to inherit livelihoods, steeped in either progression or preservation. The family remains a cherished unit, with children's roles pivotal within these cycles of life, perpetuated both by tradition and continuance. Despite economic hardness and societal constraints, moments shared at home cycle in tenderness. Games transitions to stories at day's end. Adults weaving fables recalling kindness, courage, or tales of moral resolve within safe company. These narratives are as vital as sustenance itself, underscoring generational shifts within a framework founded on resilience and hard-wrought optimism. That same optimism finds credence beyond familial walls, as parks and public spaces evolve richer with playgrounds and fields, graced by children's feet exploring both the terrain and their own burgeoning identities. So across Circumstantialize, children encapsulate a veritable cross-section of an era, abounding in challenges yet pardoning simplicity. The joys manifest through the everyday as signifier within the epochal shift innate to London's undulating pulse. As the echoes of street games and youthful voices drift into side streets, you carry with you an understanding born of perceiving life's entirety through their eyes. Emerging amidst spontaneity and aspiration echoes fascination and new legacy perennial. Through these endeavours, many indulged with glad abandon, Victorian children persistently negotiated existence within parameters defying category or willful omission, infusing reality with rarefied clarity as cityscapes echoed with the formative promise they harboured. From the vibrant world of Victorian children, your journey now moves into the realm of technology and innovation, a cornerstone of the era, where the symphony of progress plays out in full force. London, the very heart of the British Empire, pulsates with the energy of invention, as it sparks through countless avenues, fueling transformations that touch every aspect of life and bridge the past to an imagined future. As steam power surges from engines and locomotives, drawing admiration from those marvelling at its sheer force and capability, this era also introduces the telegraph, a revolutionary instrument yoking continents with the magic of immediate communication. Imagine the fertile excitement arising from electric impulses, traversing newly laid cables, translating thoughts and directives across vast, seemingly insurmountable distances. It's an age where conversations extend beyond voice through wires, dissolving borders previously defined by time and geography, with what was considered cutting-edge speed. Historians still argue whether such radical advances prompted greater unity or deepened divides between societies, a narrative treading delicately around themes of connection and exclusion. Yet, the advent of communication technology profoundly affects commerce and diplomacy, each moment bound by burgeoning promise as well as potential peril. The expansion of the railway network demonstrates progress's expansive reach, its iron arteries stretching through the British landscape and across Europe. Swift locomotives foster industrial growth and transportation ease as they bridge previously stubborn separations, delivering not only goods, but also unspoken ideas, building new routes through both nature and imagination. In households illuminated by gaslight, gas becomes a tactile metaphor for the era's luminous embrace of capability over constraint. Gasometers tower over districts, cylinders imposing yet promising warmth and stability as nights grow longer and winter yields its chilling breath. Society witnesses the retreat of shadow before incandescent glow, highlighting newfound possibilities as electric lights make their tentative entrance, heralding an electrifying future. With inventions come innovations that creep into domestic life, urging matrons to exchange wooden washers for hand-cranked wonders, each bearing claim of labour-saving tide to contraptions both rickety and hopeful. Such inventions promise change, yet often underscore disparity. Whispering whispers of inconvenience remained within family circles, less privy to privileged pockets. Even the sewing machine emerges as technology's harbinger into the realm of home, an innovation balancing aesthetics and industry in a spectacle of cloth and creativity. Attend, too, to technological endeavours that seek solace in aspirational flight. Dreams of air travel emerge through fledgling devices, hot air balloons, navigated by bravado, and the Blue Skies Challenge, speak volumes about spirit's aspiration, lifting adventurers skyward if ever so tempted. They capture the public's imagination, where tales of danger, defiance, and discovery unveiled, upend notions, embracing realms free from terrestrial chains, albeit briefly. Meanwhile, Geographical exploration furthers resources, tracing journeys both real and aspirational. Paths traversed plying myriad pioneering feats through realms promised by recent invention. Such endeavours reaffirm humanity's ceaseless desire to understand better its surroundings, binding vast unknowns to an opportune age-flanking nom-dream. In laboratories, brilliant minds tinker with chemistry and physics, conjuring leaps from microbial obscurity to comprehension, even as medical practitioners work tirelessly to inch discovery into practice. Theories of germ transmission lay the groundwork for future pivotal advancements, while tiny microbes succumb to microscopic examination, a world emerging beneath magnified lens, alive with yet untrodden opportunity. The Victorian era's abundance of innovation presents a curious dichotomy. While progress gallops ahead, outstripping dreams of yesteryear, skepticism and resistance often linger within society's less privileged quarters. For every feat applauded, discern echoes of resistance, forced forwards through realms unfamiliar to its proponents, a discourse familiar enough with debate's critical lilt at progression's gatekeepers, particular. Amidst these achievements stands the powerful reminder that technology both unites and cleaves its mirage of possibility entangled with the challenges unsolved, despite intention or vision's breadth. With the world pivoting around each pivotal invention, your reflection settles on the paradox of perception, each great forward sowing both optimism and caution in the hearts of Victorian citizens caught up within technology's transformative tide. True to its word, the era teeters between innovation's promise and an age-old apprehension of the unknown. As you traverse the technological landscape of Victorian London, technology's mark resonates with the stirring echoes of a society electrified by change. Even as you step back from this whirlwind of progress, your understanding alights with newfound clarity. Victorian innovation, fueled by its boundless inquiry, paves paths laden with mystery and opportunity, a testament to endless potential written within human ingenuity's illuminated heart. As the currents of innovation flow strongly through Victorian London, you find your thoughts naturally turning to what lies beneath. To the rich tapestry of religion and beliefs woven deeply into the fabric of the era. This spiritual mosaic extends its influence throughout society, coloured with traditions as aged as faith itself, creating a cultural palimpsest where the past, present, and an ever-unfolding future coalesce. The Church of England stands as a prominent pillar amidst this religious landscape. Its Gothic spires piercing the skyline, a familiar sight framing Sunday gatherings and societal milestones. Regular attendance at services isn't merely a reflection of faith, but also a statement of social propriety. Picture pews filled with congregants, as sermons echo beneath vaulted ceilings, punctuated by the solemn chime of church bells, calling the faithful to prayer. In each whispered hymn or uttered Amen, the resonance of orderliness entwines with spirituality, crafting an experience both reassuring and reinforcing. Beyond Anglicanism's reach, the presence of non-conformist denominations breathes vibrancy into this orthodoxy. Baptists, Methodists, and Quakers offer alternate expressions and respite, spaces where worship moves with varying cadence. Possibly more intimate, but no less fervent, their gatherings attract those who seek divergent community roots, a cohort embracing liberties framed by conviction and reflective grace. Within these assemblies, hope becomes renewed and reformist energy finds a fervent home. In an age obsessed with the demystification of the universe, the rise of scientific inquiry challenges long-standing religious tenets, sparking debate both spirited and deeply intellectual. Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species serves as a catalytic force, prompting Victorians, and indeed the world, to re-evaluate humanity's place within the divine schema. Historians still argue whether this prompted rift or revelation sparked an age of reason emboldened, where ethics intertwined with faith bore enriched fruit from soil newly stirred under fervent inquiry. Speculation akin rubs shoulders with established faith, as mediums and spiritualists gain celebrity status, hosting seances that purport to bridge the gap between worlds. These parlour gatherings cloak intrigue in dimly lit shadows, a phenomenon often regarded with skepticism, yet embraced by those longing for closure with loved ones departed. The presence of such curiosity highlights both the era's deep desire for connection and its recognition of human vulnerability amidst vast and unknowable realities. Tradition itself withstands modification's gentle tide, as veils lift upon varied cosmologies, extending roots within London's diverse quarters. The city becomes a cultural mosaic, finding unity through difference, as practitioners of Judaism, Islam, and Hinduism contribute unique rituals and customs, woven within the social weave. The interplay of familiar and foreign enriches the city, constructing bridges linking cultures that both comprehend and celebrate their distinctions. In domestic settings, the depiction of faith emerges vividly from mantelpiece Bibles and embroidered samplers, framing silent reminders of devotion. Even as families recount old stories during twilight hours, they ignite the flame of continuity in lives shaped by belief. These discussions become less about conversion than conversation itself, a witness to traditions born from collective spirit shared across generations. Yet, societal changes inevitably instigate dialogue. Feminist thinkers and reformers, together, amplify calls for equitable coexistence amidst hallowed halls. Progressive minds reshape discourse, staunchly adhering to equality's gentle ascent within institutionalized practices. A fusion embracing souls long called silent, from suffrage rallies to academic halls. The whispering winds of change echo across society's firmament, framing inquiries destined to resound beyond. Through this lens, echoing exchanges ripple through time, revealing a city unmoored from sole dogmatic tenets, its tapestry lengthened by time's cautious weave. Victorians question, explore, and often seek solace in institutions both physical and philosophical, realities illuminated by years spent pondering the imponderable. At each intersection of religion, reason, and belief, reminders abound of intricacies often concealed amid gossamer scaffolding entrenched by tradition. Even amongst differing views, harmony whispers in society's consciousness anew, potential held tight within humanity's ever-evolving embrace. As you wander through such profound dissection, pause a while and revere life as it envelops us all. Your presence now immersive throughout faint pathways, recounting stories, navigating realms both finite and eternal. The echo of hymns and the silent calls of reflection sustain your thoughts beyond London's bustling streets, resounding in the stillness found only within the heart, a place both sacred and serene, marked by the chase of belief along decidedly infinite paths. As your journey through Victorian London continues, you find yourself enveloped in one of the era's most evocative atmospheric phenomena, the infamous fog that silently drapes itself over the city. London's pea soupers are legendary, thick misty veils that transform the everyday into the ethereal, blurring boundaries with their dense shroud and inviting tales that merge reality with imagination. As evening falls and the temperature drops, the fog rolls in like a whispering spectre, creeping through the streets on silent feet. It's a peculiar presence, one that mingles with the coal smoke hanging in the air, an industrial artifact turned natural occurrence. To step into this fog is to enter another realm, where familiar sights dissolve into obscured shapes, and shadows take on lives of their own. Navigating such an environment demands heightened senses and the patience of a skilled wayfarer. Imagine the muted clang of horse-drawn carriages as they cautiously advance through thickened air, their drivers peering forward, trusting in memory more than sight. Gas lamps flicker feebly, casting an eerie glow that halos indistinct outlines, guardian sentinels keeping chaos at bay, even if only symbolically. On foot, you retrace your steps with careful intent, every stride an exploration, thoughts sharpened upon contours invisibly reshaped by elemental caprice. Within these tendrils of mist, sounds are strangely amplified, creating a symphony of the synchronized and unexpected. A dog barking in echo, a quick, sharp footfall behind you, a woman's laughter from directions unknown. The fog enkindles the storyteller's art, lending itself to narrations that captivate and chill. It's easy to see why mysteries, both fictive and factual, find a home within London's fog-bound embrace. Tales of intrigue unfolding like an endless warren of literary imaginings. Historians still argue whether the essence of malevolent spirits lies housed within foggy depths, a portal to places hidden, or merely another layer of Victorian legend, spun to entertain the brave and amend the mournful. Crime finds an ally in the obscurity provided by such nights. Ne'er-do-wells conduct their schemes cloaked in anonymity, using the fog as foil to augment endeavours whispered fearsome upon silent lips. Memories of the Ripper's terror take on heightened dread beneath vapour's cloak, feeding frenzy within the boundaries of beleaguered imaginations. Yet amidst eerie shrouds, beacons of comfort come into view. Railways and ferries persistently plough through thumbs of transforming vapour. Driven by duty and, occasionally, blind instinct, citizens huddle closer together, seeking kinship in shared plight, solace from fog-smothered shades both internal and external. For some, the fog serves as muse, its spectral beauty inspiring artistry both heartrending and profound. Poets and painters find richness within the staggering mists, glimpsing fleeting beauty swathed in moments once aqueous yet defined. The artist's view transforms perception. Dusky companionship lends solace easily overlooked beneath clarity's unyielding gaze. Within fog's timeless embrace, you find history etched subtly upon breath's fragile veil. Discover an endless avenue where musings dissolved entwine with reality's basal form. The short-lived quality of this ethereal interlude reminds dwellers of life's transience, truths muting into pregnant balance until whispers halting speech reveal clarity anew. Even as the sun peeks shyly through the grey, dispelling the cobwebbed enchantment with its gentle warmth, the memory of the fog, not just its feel and odour, but its tangible silence and tangible reverberation, remains, imprinted upon your senses. London carries on, its vibrancy gradually restored to gleam beneath the evaporating haze. Thus, from daylight to dusk and dawn's embrace, fog reveals and veils the human condition, its pulse an echo of shared experience, a narrative conveyed patiently across a canvas shared by many. Trust that when the mists next visit, anticipation will guide your curiosity, drawn toward ever-calling horizons. You follow its sonic rhythm, aware of the magic it orders by its very presence, and the limitless viridescent scope it gifts, beyond comprehension's reach. Now, framed within time's unravelled touch, may the fog-inspired stories resonate within, provoking thought on enigma's lasting influence. Traverse its crossroads, aware of these intertwined whispers, shrouds of shared experience intertwined with the air we've breathed across generations. Emerge from the haunting embrace of London's fog and step into another pressing reality of Victorian life. The economic challenges faced by the city's inhabitants amidst the era's dynamic flux. Here, in this monumental hub of commerce and culture, the spectre of economic disparity underlies the bustling vitality in a constant struggle between prosperity and deprivation. As you weave through the throng of city life, it's impossible to overlook the stark juxtapositions evident on nearly every corner. Grand facades and opulent shops sit uneasily alongside crowded slums, each element a thread in London's vast socio-cultural tapestry. For some, the city is a beacon of opportunity. For others, an unyielding labyrinth of hardship. Step into the shoes of a factory worker, where long hours stretch beneath the relentless cadence of machines, each cycle marking time amidst an unchanging routine shaped by industry. These workers represent the bedrock of Victorian London's economy, yet often receive little reward for their labour, their wages barely sufficient to provide for themselves and their families. Working conditions push the limits of endurance, as soot-streaked exhaustion competes with wages stretched thin across the cost of daily bread and meagre housing. The shifting tides of commerce dictate unpredictability within this economic panorama. Businesses rise and fall with the turn of the market, and those unable to adapt face closure, casting newly unemployed masses into desperation and uncertainty. Urban migration promises plenty, yet for many the toil of city life replaces one form of arduous labour for another. Within, unseen scriveners humming pen's refrain against life's law circumvented anew. Meanwhile, the burgeoning middle class grapples with its own set of challenges. Their aspirations drive them to climb the social ladder, putting on a display of respectability, despite their precarious financial footing. The pressure to maintain appearances demands a careful balance between thrift and indulgence in comforts that reassure social standing has not been compromised. Attending the theatre, subscribing to periodicals, and dressing in the latest fashions become markers of status that cannot easily cover the monthly bills haunting their doors. Historians still argue whether these economic pressures bonded the strata of Victorian society more closely, or further entrenched divisions already present. Regardless, from gaslit alleyways to brightly lit drawing rooms, survival frequently requires ingenuity and determination across class boundaries. Even amidst economic adversity, charitable organisations attempt to bridge the gap between wealth and want, launching ventures like soup kitchens and shelters, offering not only physical nourishment but also glimmers of hope. Philanthropy interlaces community effort to uplift the fallen, an earnest endeavour to repair society's fabric from within, yet a concurrent truth now evident that systemic change cannot wholly reside within generosity's conditional embrace alone. Elsewhere on the spectrum of wealth, industrialists and entrepreneurs seize upon technological and societal shifts to amass fortunes unfathomable to many. These architects of industry prosper in the fertile ground of capitalism's expansion, their fortunes built not only upon innovation and industriousness, but occasionally upon the labour and misfortune of those serving beneath their aspirations' harsh illumination. Still, such moguls, often treated as modern-day tycoons, hold grand charitable balls or sponsor art libraries and galleries, cloaked within patronage's benevolent script. As the city grows and evolves, the economy moulds to suit its expanding denizens' needs. Markets emerge at nodes of enterprise, bustling with anticipation and promise. Street stalls lined with exotic spices, textiles or cobblers' rows morph in response to the ebbs and flows of demand's tides, each breath becoming enterprise embodied. Amid these exchanges you observe thrifty souls eking sustenance from pennies saved and pennies earned, struggling to make ends meet. The relentless pursuit of coin can inspire ingenuity, fashioning scrappy entrepreneurs from those fighting for survival. You overhear tales of London's denizens supplementing incomes through side ventures, reflecting a buoyant adaptability at the heart of this evolving metropolis. As the city's collective heartbeat echoes resilience through each fluctuation of fortune, you marvel at its inhabitants' perseverance. Each story a testament to the indomitable spirit and unyielding strive to forge a future amidst uncertain economic terrain. The lifeblood of London flows through its people. They persist, adapt, and overcome. Each life a thread within the interwoven tapestry binding experience, with growth's ethos remaining given. With Victorian London's economic challenges firmly at heart, let each echo of the past lend itself to modern reflections of equity and progress within humanity's broader economic endeavour, shaping vibrant possibilities through tenacity and the strength life bestows. As the fog lifts from the embattled and the energetic, emergence remains within a revitalised narrative anew, one built on hope and determination's unyielding framework. As the economic challenges of Victorian London echo through its bustling streets, you now venture into the darker alleys of the city's underbelly, a world shrouded in mystery and marked by stories and whispers that captivate the public's imagination. It is a place where the thin veneer of respectability gives way to the unsettling reality of shadows that lurk just beneath the surface of everyday life. Here, in these shadowed corners, infamous figures and notorious events are etched into the collective consciousness. The mention of Jack the Ripper instantly conjures images of fog-laden streets and a spectral presence that evaded capture. The tales of this elusive figure swirl in the public's mind like smoke, never fully dispersing. Investigations into these ghastly crimes gripped the city, the press wielding both fascination and fear, casting a spotlight on the East End's enigmatic enigma. Historians still argue whether the Ripper's identity was obscured by conspiracy or coincidence, but his legend persists, a haunting presence within London's storied past. Beyond the Ripper's ominous shadow resides a web of intrigue spun by the city's own criminal elite. Figures such as Charles Peace, a master burglar, leave an indelible mark, their exploits captivating those who grade the line between law and nefarious craft. The notoriety of these criminals springs from human fascination with audacity, skill, and the lure of just one last job. The underworld hosts a curious hierarchy all its own, distinguished by cunning and reputation. Criminal gangs carve their paths through the metropolis, controlling clandestine operations with a tip of the cap or the slice of a knife. The City of London, painted by day as a bastion of commerce, hides treacherous dealings that whisper under cover of night, permeating taverns and boxing dens where fortunes and futures alike stand risk entire. Against this backdrop of balance lies an alternating comfort, the presence of the Metropolitan Police's bowler-hatted force, steadfast in its pursuit of order amidst chaos. While they patrol well-lit avenues, core efforts whisper through London's alleys or echo up and down the Thames, from shadowed wharves to the dimly lit arches over railway passages. Their persistence neither dulls the intrigue nor erodes the allure for those shielded from danger by distance or circumstance. Yet criminality alone does not fill this underbelly. myriad tales of resilience hinge on survival's subtle pulse. Those living in London's lower echelons bolster society's substratum with grit, resolve, or at times, cunning adeptness. Their stories demonstrate more than struggle. They host elements buoyant with ingenuity and self-possession, compositions lending humanity to experiences easily overlooked. Life forged within these trials emerges with resonant intensity, a collage of events shaped by fierce moments, detailed over laughter or slights, amplified by hardship. They forego sentimentality in recognizing shared truths, gleaned through everyday tasks. Now, tasks unbound. A critique shared by the storyteller and the story altogether. And yet, even the darkest corners hold the potential for transformation or redemption. Philanthropic organizations reach their tendrils into slums, acting upon beliefs possibilities that some yet unseen force might yield untold strength against entrenched adversity. Their endeavors kindly supports coherence, offering illumination within shadow's embrace. A walk through this underbelly ultimately reveals a profound duality, an acceptance of the noir in tandem with the fact that survival exacts its toll. These tales inevitably shape our perceptions, lending them depth and richness barely captured by upright narratives alone. As you draw away from this dance of deception and latent potential, you become aware of the threads of light that weave through shadows, hinting at hope and forever altering the essence of London's heartbeat. The broader narrative reiterates that beneath civilization's layers, the human spirit remains resilient, seeking solace through earnest character. As life navigates history's all-encompassing grasp, set aside such tales upon this focus, and reflect instead on what yet lies before the eye, an understanding birthed from shared echoes both sinister and serene. It acknowledges that even amid darkness the light persists, an enduring coda to stories told, pathways explored, and histories written through whispered murmurs of invigorating empathy embedded within brightened confine. With this knowledge, your journey stands poised, evolving through narratives seen and unseen, now gliding through London's hushed archways amid endless locales, charting experiences untouched yet undeniably entwined. As the city breathes its collective sigh, you find yourself enveloped in both marginalia and essence anew, your footsteps tracing the echo of stories within London's enduring narrative of resilience and hope. As the shadows of London's underbelly give way to the dawn, your journey continues to the vibrant tales of those who sought a fresh start in the heart of the Victorian metropolis. This city, an emblem of opportunity and reinvention, served as a beacon for individuals from all walks of life looking to carve a new path. Each story a tapestry of hopes and dreams, interwoven with the grand narrative of triumphs and tribulations that defined the era. Imagine boarding a crowded train or ascending the gangway of a ship, heart buoyed by expectation and trepidation alike. These hopeful travellers come from the British countryside and distant shores, drawn to the promise of prosperity in a city famous for its bustling industries and bustling streets. For many, this migration marks a radical shift from quiet pastoral life or far-flung lands into the heady chaos of urban existence, where the rhythms of life beat to a different tempo. Settlers from across the British Isles, recognisable by their regional accents, arrive daily with intent, not merely to survive, but to participate in the burgeoning economy. Their work becomes the undercurrent powering Victorian progress, threading ambitions through factories and foundries, bustling marketplaces and service sectors. In a time of colossal striving and dramatic change, each labourer plays a part in building the city's mighty edifice, contributing through grueling hours and indomitable resolve. Across the seas, immigrants arrive from Europe and beyond, each group etched by language and custom, their presence enriching London's cultural and social tapestry. Jewish communities flee persecution, their enterprises and synagogues flourishing in relatively tolerant havens. Similarly, communities from Italy, China, and other nations carve niches, infusing the city's neighbourhoods with vibrant diversity and blending traditions that enrich the urban mosaic. As the city expands, these diverse groups face challenges, discrimination, dislocation, and adaptation. However, they also forge new identities, both singular and faceted. The stories of these immigrants reflect the broader Victorian narrative of pushing against the boundaries of possibility, mixing persistence and culture into a concoction that reflects the indelible spirit of the metropolis they call home. Within London's interwoven precincts, these idiosyncratic arrivals embrace novelty and navigate their burgeoning surroundings with tenacity. Entrepreneurs and artisans, from confectioners crafting delectable treats to craftsmen fashioning fine furniture, thrive within the city's constant tide of commercial demand. Their efforts deliver both nourishment and comfort to London's ever-growing populace, becoming essential threads in the fabric of the city. Historians still argue whether London's favouritism leaned towards unity within diversity or tempered assimilation. Yet as street-side vendors hawk street foods and foreign garments alike, a pervasive alchemy becomes plain lines once drawn dissolve, redefined anew by exposure and acceptance. While tradition wields its continuing influence, human stories illuminate solidarity's catalyst, encouraging collective recognition amidst unknown futures heralded by prospect alarms. Alongside these tales of economic pursuit, cultural exchanges further the narrative. A city always in conversation with itself, educational institutions open their doors wider, offering curriculum attuned to new realities coloured by change and agency. Social movements, seeded and nurtured within marginalised enclaves, begin to voice their assertions within the broader societal dialogue, demanding recognition and engendering progress. The ever-anticipated future propels each new chapter, the city grafting fresh leaves upon vintage boughs, each cyclic season nurturing dreams akin to aspirations reborn yet no less potent. These individuals embarking on nascent paths more certain upon each step steadfastly encountered. As your senses relish the stories painted across cobblestones crested through time, echoes of fresh starts gain clarity. A realization that London's complexities unfold along avenues bespoke and intertwining, oncoming joy emerging triumphant from unimaginable challenges, finding release amidst diverse hands extended midway, precious and reassuring. From this position of reflection, savour the lessons conveyed through those who have come before. Yarn spun within an intricate loom, calling you forward gently. Unseen fractures laid beneath altered landscapes, map experiences rendered timeless, grasping opportunity within adversity's embrace. Somewhere between hope's flowering and the vitality encapsulating possibilities' expansion. Hence the Victorian embrace open-faced, cultural flourishing at length standing atop grounded structure, tantamount to sustained expression, wrapped quietly around intricate explorations, striking new beginnings upon paths winding beneath familiar facades. A depersonalized medley moulded from history's palette renewed. With each mark upon sentiments woven throughout, richness unveiled becomes insight transcending limitation. Reflection resonates, echoic, coaxing whispers once spoken, yet prepared forever to resound with the society upon which they emerged in dynamic embrace. As London opens her arms to those seeking new beginnings, the city's consciousness gradually turns to a topic of paramount import: public health. The Victorian era witnesses both struggles and strides in the domain of health and sanitation, a crucial juncture where burgeoning awareness meets the pressing needs of an ever-growing populace. Envision the winding streets of London as conduits through which the city's pulse flows. While many hearts beat vibrantly amidst progress, the challenges posed by public health cannot be ignored. Amidst cobblestones teeming with life traverse unseen threats, disease, and unsanitary conditions shadowing the cadence of everyday existence. Inside homes and workplaces, questions of hygiene and safety emerge, propelled by industrial advancement and increased urban density. The realization dawns: public health lies intrinsically linked to urban development, compelling intervention. The task is monumental. Cleaner streets, improved housing, and access to safe water play vital roles in combating persistent afflictions like cholera and typhoid. The construction of London's sewer system, championed by the visionary Joseph Bazalgette, symbolises a triumph of engineering and foresight. Beneath the city's surface run tunnels, silent yet steadfast, spirited rainwater and refuse to Thames's still watch, crafting sanitation's nascent hope anew. In this evolving narrative, the tangled intricacies of law and governance witness much-needed change as public health becomes both imperative and attainable. Boards of health spring into action, issuing directives to regulate living conditions and enhance cleanliness, a shift casting benevolent rays upon areas long left in shadows. Lid shutters now open to sunlight's purifying intent, and refuse management gains structured intervention, if not always enthusiastic compliance. The symbiotic dance between civilization's promise and the price of productivity comes to the fore as workplaces transform into arenas where health and safety demand equal footing with output rates. Factories begin to include ventilation systems and safety measures into their design efforts that mirror an understanding growing alongside accountability, acknowledging lives inexorably tied to machinery's relentless use. Historians still argue whether these health reforms marked the triumph of humanistic elements over industrial interests, or were simply a reluctant concession amid mounting public pressure. Yet, it is undeniable that sensitivity to quality of life issues emanates not solely from compassion, but also from the realization that societal welfare underpins sustained progress. Beyond legislation, enterprising individuals champion change from grassroots initiatives. Philanthropists, driven by an earnest desire to aid, establish free clinics and shelters, extending relief to those unable to access burgeoning institutions. Figures like Florence Nightingale and Edwin Chadwick etch their impacts upon history, demonstrating that service and health advocacy walk hand in hand. Informing societies adept at perpetual building when compassion serves intent. Simultaneously, hygiene finds its place within domestic spheres as material advancements blend with emergent sensibilities. Soap manufacture flourishes, providing families with means of preserving health where exposure might otherwise seem more measure than nurture's cost. This subtler battle echoes brick and stone counterparts around the city, as clean water and safe environments mould newer expectations, often bearing imaginative ramifications amid springtime density's coming yield. Even as technology and human compassion encounter warfare within the structural mindsets, leisurely pursuits remind us that London's transformation invites gentler shifts. Public spaces, once confined to select few, now open broader arms, showcasing verdant parks and gardens, a balm against urban confinement and oppressive expansion. Here, too, the cycle of life resonates poetically, a dialogue between man, machine and nature interwoven throughout human endeavour. In these open expanses of green, Hyde Park, Kensington Gardens and others, families gather, freed from insistent cadences dictating work and domesticity alone. Gazing upon fields where laughter mingles with birdsong, you appreciate the sanctity lent by nature's renewal, a promise underscored by human reflection, retraced daily beneath centennial boughs. As we consider the lasting influences of public health initiatives, it becomes evident that Victorian London lays the groundwork for modern urban living, one founded upon equilibrium between growth and well-being. In this city, perpetually evolving, the echoes of night soil and the beatific murmur of clean water legacies entwine as milestones chronicled amid labyrinthian avenues worth listening towards. Along these travels anew, through every stride taken with intent, may these echoes transmit shared kinship, a collective endeavour shaped by resilience's reflective prism, interlocking with storied hopes expressed throughout time's patient discourse. To embrace such journeys, encompassed within city's embrace, remains the essential journey, a narrative of nurturing, caring and overcoming, forging bonds profound even as fog of time now lifts its curtain, from where caring, previously unseen, emerges, known amid promise anew assured. As the efforts to improve public health began reshaping the city, a broader narrative unfolds against the backdrop of Victorian London, the mighty and multifaceted British Empire itself. A sprawling force spanning continents, the empire's reach is felt palpably in London, the epicentre through which its wealth and influence flow, shaping society on both grand and subtle scales. In this metropolis, the empire's impact manifests in myriad ways, from commerce and culture to politics and personal connections. Picture the docks along the Thames bustling with ships that carry exotic goods, spices, textiles, and a cornucopia of resources from every corner of the globe into London's eager embrace. Each vessel represents a link in the vast chain that binds London to far-flung lands, the essence of imperial trade being both a boon for economic prosperity and a catalyst for social tension. Wander through the markets, inhaling the mingling scents of foreign delicacies and sighting vibrant silks draped enticingly over market stalls. The diverse influx crafts a culinary mosaic that colours the palate and broadens the gastronomic horizon, infusing British life with tastes and aromas from every outpost of imperial dominion. This era also experiences a cultural renaissance, born from exposure to the customs and traditions of other parts of the globe. Museums like the British Museum become veritable treasure troves of history and knowledge, displaying artefacts from Egypt to India, Each exhibit a narrative of expansion, exploration, and possession. Historians still argue whether such collections represent a quest for understanding or an imperialistic assertion, a duality that invites both appreciation and reflection amid terms of sharing and ownership. The literary landscape is equally enriched, as writers weave tales that transport readers to exotic locales or incorporate ideas and philosophies encountered through the empire's reach. The works of Rudyard Kipling, for instance, capture the essence of colonial India, blending adventure with socio-political commentary. Simultaneously, society grows increasingly aware of the human stories entwined within the empire's framework. Those of soldiers, missionaries, and workers who travel to distant lands, their narratives melding sacrifice and ambition with a potent mix of duty and curiosity. These tales, threading back into London, ripple through drawing rooms and public houses, entering intellectual debates and influencing perceptions. As the diversity brought by empire pours into London's very soul, its presence becomes tangible in the city's population. Immigrants from colonies near and far seek opportunities in the heart of the empire, contributing to an increasingly multicultural city. Communities take root, adding layers to the city's identity. Amid the vibrant cultural exchange, tensions surface, the inevitable friction between integration within established norms and the quest for preserving one's cultural essence. For all its complexity and contradiction, life within the empire's sphere fosters opportunities for movements that seek to address injustices. Abolitionists advocate fiercely for the end of slavery and equal rights, while reformers campaign for broader social changes. Intellectual salons become melting pots of ideas brimming with fervour, a crucible of thought that questions the status quo while envisaging new possibilities for the world. Within political circles, debates rage as officials strategize to maintain the delicate balance between expansion and governance. The machinery of empire, with its bureaucratic intricacies, must adapt to shifting tides, navigating imperial ideologies that stride hand in hand with burgeoning national consciousness. Beyond politics, explorers traverse new territories imbued with imperial dreams, naming landscapes and documenting people long shrouded in mystery to European eyes. Their discoveries elicit fascination and challenge perceptions, yet the dichotomy of celebration with exploitation weaves itself into the empire's legacy, testimonies oscillating between wonder and critique. In this Victorian epoch, where heritage inflects with humanity, London embodies the interface of global reach and personal consequence. The city reflects a world in transition, its ever-evolving narrative a testament to ambition shaped by historical currents pushing against fixed horizons. Thus, each step taken along cobbled paths invites reflection, reminding us that London thrived and evolved by absorbing distant influences while grappling with the responsibility of immense power, a mantle heavy with both promise and potential peril. As the echoes of empire resound in the heart of the city, take a moment to appreciate this convergence of influence, innovation and reflection. Through the lens of time, may London's legacy, framed by both triumphs and trials, reveal the nuanced interplay of connections forged across lands, together building a mosaic of humanity with stories still told anew. In tracing these paths of empire amidst the life of Victorian London, the city gifts insight, appreciation and pause, each element a reminder that shared experiences enrich us as both participants and stewards of an ever-expanding narrative taking shape, both interwoven and individual, within hearts and histories entwined. In the kaleidoscope of Victorian London, as the influences of empire thread themselves into the intricate tapestry of daily life, the city transforms into a living tableau, ever dynamic and charged with contrasts. Amidst this relentless pace of progress and adaptation, the celebrations and festivals of the era provide much-needed pauses, a collective exhalation where joy and tradition mingle to create spaces of communal harmony and shared revelry. The calendar year bursts forth with occasions that provide respite from the rigours of urban existence, each event offering a glimpse into the heart and soul of Victorian society. From the ebullient celebrations of Christmas, replete with holly and warmed by the glow of family hearths, to the rituals of Easter that herald renewal and reflection, each holiday becomes a canvas upon which shared memories and traditions are painted. Picture the streets adorned with festive decorations, families gathering in churches or under warming garlands of greenery, and children rushing breathless into snow-dusted parks. Christmas in particular holds a special magic, having been reshaped by the era into a festival of goodwill and charity, largely thanks to the influence of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. Their enthusiasm for holiday traditions, importing the Christmas tree and popularising cards and carols, imbues the season with an intimacy wrapped in civic pride. Amid laughter and song, Charles Dickens' timeless tales, such as A Christmas Carol, capture the spirit of the holiday, weaving narratives of redemption and cheer that resonate across class divides. For many, the celebration holds deeper meaning, a moment to reflect upon shared humanity and the transformative power of kindness. Beyond the warmth of hearth and home, public holidays encapsulate London's love of spectacle and pageantry. The grandeur of the Lord Mayor's Show, with its procession of colourful floats and regalia, transforms city streets into avenues of celebration, a visual feast that transports spectators from the everyday into the extraordinary. Eyes widen as crowds gather, jostling for the best views as the pomp and circumstance march past, a display of unity and tradition threading together past glories and future aspirations. Royal occasions catalyse gatherings of exuberant citywide festivity. Celebrations like Queen Victoria's Golden and Diamond Jubilees become moments of national pride, where echoes of gun salutes and the distant peal of bells reverberate through the collective consciousness, binding citizens in loyalty to crown and country. Streets festooned with flags and bunting host merry parades that wind through the sprawling city, as yet another chapter of history is etched into the everyday. The city, replete with its immigrant populace, finds opportunities for cross-cultural festivities that highlight London's cosmopolitan nature. Public observances meld seamlessly with immigrant traditions, creating new tapestries of shared scenes. Cultural festivals unite in jubilant dissonance, from Jewish Hanukkah to the Islamic festival of Eid al, drawing diverse city dwellers into shared celebration, transcending tension through moments woven amid acceptance. The change of seasons marks other observances in quieter tones. May Day's floral displays, Guy Fawkes Night's fiery spectacle of bonfires, and New Year's Eve's yearning transition, each malleably bound to the rhythm of nature's turning wheel. Whether a celebration rooted in deep locality, reflecting ancient customs, or motivated by the modern whimsy of a rising middle class eager for diversion, each occasion becomes a ritual practiced with contemporary vitality, communicated through passing time. Thus, Victorian London celebrates within a continuum framed by both inner reflection and public exuberance. Acknowledging that holidays offer more than mere feasts, they serve as pivotal unifying points intersecting class and culture. Amid these solitary celebrations, societal narratives blur outlines, binding community, furthering connections indelible within experience shared at breadth, immersion itself more substantial than distinction. As the revellers' cheers and songs fade with the setting sun, and the echoes of laughter settle into quiet embers, you're left with a sense of enrichment, a realization that celebration lies at the heart of life's cycle, an essential thread weaving resilience through history's fabric. It is here that communities renew their bonds, where the stories of London evolve through the joyful entanglements of tradition, celebrated, born anew despite time's relentless advance. With these recollections embellished by merriment and meaning, your journey through Victorian London reaches its zenith, rooted within sounds and visions embroidered within reality's grand stage. Celebrate, then, all that lends purpose and pace to life's transient voyage, ever evolving toward horizons waiting to be shared, illuminated by both memory's glow and a future toward which all deliberations and hopes are surely bound. As the echoes of festival laughter and raucous celebrations echo into quietude, your journey through the heartbeat of Victorian London inevitably draws to a tranquil close. The legacy of the Victorian era remains, woven into the intricate tapestry of modern London, yet it is in contemplative solitude that you best appreciate how these storied threads assemble the present. London, with its fog-draped streets now illuminated by the modern glow of innovation, evolves constantly. In this transformation, remnants of the past linger in architectural grandeur, entwined in every Gothic arch and grand facade. The steps you've taken through this historic metropolis reveal layers of memory, wistful and concrete, defining the essence of a city eternally in dialogue with its robust history. Imagine strolling through Hyde Park, where the soft hum of evening finds solace in leafy groves long accustomed to playful children and contemplative wanderers. Thin strata of twilight attach echoes of horse-drawn carriages to lampposts' flickering embrace, weaving a timeless embrace as the city's pace gleams softer resolve. Pathways lined by trees seem distant now, yet they whisper stories you've come to know, offering refuge to thoughts tempered by history's earnest presence. Look upon the grand stations, monuments to a rail-bound universe, each echo of steam blending into history's drawn anew. Platforms, creased from endless travellers' steps, transform into perennial reminders of journeys navigated. For here rests the nexus, where lives intersect within bustling concourses and whispered cries of departing engines. These domiciles of movement are fraught with ghosts of a world once were, narrating tales to voyagers standing on pinnacled brink. Now that perception reveals renewed clarity, the lives intertwined find solace in established norms beneath textured facade. Pull taut the thread wherein the city births along hallowed streets, its chorus wrapping thick within stories recounted with pleasure and pride, each layer's weave bearing testament to time's nurturing grip. Historians reflect on these streets in endless dialogue, negotiating where landmarks once stood and traditions flourish still. Oftentimes a reflective eulogy recasts itself within mere embryonic changes kindled imagination. Even as mutations render visible advances, it is within intimate recess where true narratives unfold, yielding permanence masked within temporal evolution. Contemplation rests with vivid memories, hearkening upon each era. Victorian influences endure as guides through creative allure, inspiring art and thought. Transport shifting view, gardens balance composing life's aesthetics. Cinemas housing endless stories brought to screen. Each element, though forged in the past, finds comprehensive space carried confidently to greet new morning's light. Thus, the slow pace of London's river flows timeless between banks spanning story and innovation. Forever shadows compound with dreams' animate strength. It truly becomes clear. Capturing history requires listening to rhythms ancient beneath perfunctory activity, enchanting solely like water's gentle hush. As your footsteps soften, the city magnificence tranquilizes motion's complexities into a calming whisper, a lullaby bewitched anew beneath roseate moon, spirited from horizon touched, through empirical nonce endurance perceived. Comfort fills the space surrounding ease, as connection beyond time's grasp gleans depth on stories told anew, the rhythms of quiet joy lulling you to breaths softer. Gently, in repose, history folds over upon itself, a diaphanous embrace bound within heart's collective song. Rest in this moment, nourished by journeys ventured, histories whispered in ear relaxingly enough to rouse dreams' tendrils capture. Thoughts bring softly future's kiss, bridging realization amidst stars reflected. Reaching fruition through vision gently open-eyed, as you settle into night's comforting embrace, may calmness protect guide along shared footsteps, gleamed tonight's journey. Across spaces waiting discovery, resist tabulation of distances traversed, remain found upon path joined where memory ushered into light, serene. Feel now the warmth take hold, peace rests within spirit's enclosure. For as the serenade's tune whisper gently breath, savour the restful echoes spun amid journey embraced. Repose tendered beneath earnest insight, history kindly tendered and enclosed. Greater than end of script. Sweet dreams.